Are we live? Okay, we're getting started. All right, are we still live? All right, cool. So I thank you for all the people who are here in attendance, all 5 of us. It's going to be great. If you can't, people who are watching live, if you can't hear me, let me know. I'm just trying not to yell at the people who are in front of me. So if you can't hear me, just let me know and I'll speak up. So I want to just jump right into it. I don't have like a big introduction. I just talk. I think I told some people earlier, so I'll tell you out there the big people that came. If you have any questions, stop me. If something I'm saying doesn't make sense, stop me. Don't wait till the end because I'm probably not going to remember what I was addressing at that point. Just stop me right then and I'll address it then. Because if you have a question, I'm pretty sure that like somebody else will have a question too. Cool. So we're going to be talking about social media strategy. And one of the main things that I try to focus on with like social media is I want people to treat it like it's not on a computer. When you're working on your social media, whether it's for your nonprofit, which is the focus of today, or your business, or even personal social media, handle it like you're talking to people at a networking event. How you would go into that. I want to show a quick video, and then I'll get into like my 7 rules about networking and how it applies to your social media. Cool.
Number one, I'm in an environment that I'm known, right? For the last decade, I've built up some brand equity, and there's a very different strategy of walking into a room where there's context around me. I'm in a wine space, in the social media space, marketing space. I'm going to be able to play that way a little bit different. In that world, I'm receiving, right? I'm letting things come to me. This is the opportunity for a lot of people to pitch me. I want to give them value. And so in those environments where I have context and brand and leverage, I actually give back. I actually just set up shop and I get pitched for days. On the other side, when I go to many places where nobody knows who I am, how many people in this auditorium have no idea who I am? Raise your hands. That fucking hurts. I'm on the offense to not overthink it. So I will never figure out like who's the biggest dog or dogette in the room that I want to get to, and like I'm going to get mine. So what I really do is I come in and really go very open and create a scenario to just let serendipity take over. I think networking can get very skeezy very quickly, right? It's such a hardcore objective. To me, I let it come to me. That is my overall plan. I, by nature, am a counterpuncher for all my aggression and bravado and what I project on stage because it's a different environment. In real life, I very much let things come to me and I like to react. It's a little more chess. I wish I knew more about martial arts because I feel like sometimes people leave comments on Facebook and YouTube about it. It's like martial art. I let the other person's thing give me the leverage to do my thing.
All right. So like normally my computer is not this far away. It's like very, very far. It's a little different. But just bear with me. But that works. That's fine. All right. So the reason why I use that video, one is everybody familiar with Gary Vee's craziness. So I like some of Gary Vee's stuff, and the reason why I use that video as an example of like networking because a couple of things he said stood out, and I'll kind of like address those in the next thing that I want to say. So I have like 7 rules of like networking, and I'll kind of explain how they apply to like your social media strategy and how you should apply these to pretty much any social media, not just your nonprofit, not just your business, and we'll get into that later on. So number 1 is let your passion show. So with Twitter, Facebook, and like the blogosphere behind you, it's like it's super easy to, more than ever to show how you feel about your issue or about your cause, about whatever it is that you're promoting, and people need to feel that. People need to know that you're serious about whatever it is that your organization does. You can't let your audience speak for you. You have to kind of train them as to what you want them to say about your business. So people always talk about like the 30-second pitch and like your like elevator pitch. I'm personally not a fan of like 30-second pitches because I feel like I don't get enough in that time. If I want to beat you somewhere, I mean, most elevators that I get in are pretty slow. So we have about 45 to a minute. So give me a little bit more detail as to what this interaction is kind of about. And that's the same thing with your social media. You may put up a Snapchat, which is 15 seconds. That's probably annoying to the people on screen. Sorry. But if you put up a Snapchat, and whatever the case may be, for any type of social media that you're posting, your caption, how you interact with people in the comments, that's really important. So you have to let them see how serious you are about that particular thing. Number two is believe in what you're selling. So when it comes to like landing your dream job, then you're your own marketing team, and the product you're selling is you. If you don't believe in your own value, then you're going to have a hard time convincing others. And that's the same thing within the nonprofit space. It's like courting donors or courting, it could be board members, it could be people who are supportive, whether it's your acting board or your working board or your advisory board. It's kind of the same thing. It's like your passion show. How you have to believe in what it is that you do. If your nonprofit sells Renaissance, then you need to be the most passionate person about Renaissance that there is. And you have to really believe that these Renaissance you have are going to change the world. And so that's that's just believing what it is that you're doing. Number three is that contacts are everywhere. So I cannot stress this enough. When you log onto your social media, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is, and when you first log in, you're opening yourself up to a whole new world of people who may have never heard of you before. Whether they follow you or you follow them, when you log in, what you see is people you follow. You want them to care about what you're doing just as much as you care enough about what they were doing. And just as much as you cared enough about what they were doing to follow them. You want them to engage in within what you're doing. And it still goes back to the first two, is let your passion show. You have to believe in what you do. These people are your potential donors. They are your potential supporters. They'll come to your events. They'll show support. They'll become your volunteers. Like these are, in your case, they're potential teachers or potential people who may be able to run your program for you. If that's the case, then you have to make sure that you treat them as such, because customer service, which I'll get into later on, is one of the most important things of any business, especially within a nonprofit, because that retention, as far as donors, as far as volunteers, is kind of like a key. It's a very major key, as I will call it. Do your research. Business is personal, and you never know whether your childhood friend, former neighbors, or like members of your alumni network will help you reach your goal. So when you're adding people, I understand some people have their Facebook is for family and friends, and they don't really want to add people in their job. My sister, who might be watching this, she changed her Facebook name 3 times because she doesn't want the other people at her job to be able to find her real name. So I know how to find her because I know the name she uses, but you want to make sure that people can find you. Don't hide yourself. These are your potential people who can help your nonprofit grow past where you are right now. You don't want to hide from them. Would you hide from money if I said, "Hey, I got $1 million for you right now"? Or would you run and go hide in the corner, or would you stick your hand out? So do what you would do in person, online. Stick your hand out and let people, give you money or give you resources or things of that nature. So then number 4, do your research. So when you finally do get that face-to-face with someone, who either is a dream board member, dream volunteer, or dream donor. You want to be able to show them that you're a fan of what they do, know their recent projects, know their recent accolades, recent acquisitions. So one thing that I noticed is that when I meet somebody at like a networking event, there's a different type of interaction than when I meet them from social media. When people, and I'll say me, I'll come back to that later. But when people know you from social media or when they see you from social media, it's not the same type of connection depending on how you foster that relationship. So if I meet you at a networking event, the next time I see you, you might say, hey, you look familiar, are you so-and-so? Whereas people who you're connected with on social media, it may feel weird to just approach them. So you walk right by them. And this person probably follows you, likes all your pictures, comments on all your stuff, and you walk right by them as if it's the same type of interaction. You have to really think about this like a social network as in-person networking. It's just from your phone. It's just more convenient. This type of networking you can do from your bed. That type of networking you have to go out to different events and meet these people in person, but still try to maintain those same relationships. And when you do know things about a person, if you saw them post about something, if you saw them post about some dream that they had or some new job that they just got, send them a congratulations. There's nothing wrong with reaching out to people and being friendly. It's not always considered being weird or stalking. I mean, you can't really consider anybody stalking you these days when we walk around talking about followers all day. It doesn't, like 20 years ago, if somebody said, oh yeah, I follow you, you looked at them like, you follow me, like, so it's a little different. You just gotta, to adjust with the times, to adjust what you're doing with the times. Be willing to work for it. Sometimes the best or the only way to make connections is to show off your skills, or the way to show off your skills is to get busy working in whatever industry you're in. This is especially true when you're possibly switching from for-profit to nonprofit, or when people know you from one respective lane and you're going into another. So people can see you talk about your nonprofit organization, or they can see you talk about your business, but if they don't actually see you working in that business, then one, they can see that you're not as passionate about it and you don't really believe in what you're selling. I know a lot of people who have nonprofit organizations, and they may have like different social media accounts. So they may have one personal, one for their nonprofit, one for their business, one for memes or whatever the case may be. But across all four of those social networks, none of the information that they're posting has anything that's engaging or that's even relevant for people who are looking to find out more about their business. If I go to your Instagram or to your Facebook page, then I should be able to find out a little bit about what you do. Even if I have to go to the website to get more information, you want to minimize clicks. If I have to go to your Instagram, then I have to click your Instagram and then go to your Facebook, and then from your Facebook to your website, like how many of y'all are like making it through that transition? Like how many of you are going to jump through all of these hoops to give somebody money? Like it's kind of, if I want you to purchase something from me or to support what I'm doing, I'm going to try to make it as easy as possible. I really don't want this. I hate to stop this. But I'm going to make it as easy as possible for you to support whatever it is that I'm doing. So try to give as much. I know, a little Instagram bios, a little, it's not a lot of space. It's just enough to put your booking info or whatever. But it just try to make sure that wherever people go, if they go to your Facebook page first, if they go to your Twitter first, if they go to your Instagram first, wherever they meet you, make sure that they get your resume when they meet you. Just like if you're going to a job interview, you wouldn't show up to a job interview without your resume the same way. Don't let people come and meet you for the first time online and not be able to figure out what it is that you guys do, or that you do, or that your team does. Show your spark. So when networking, the goal isn't just hitting all the right bullet points on your resume, but demonstrating that you're personable, that you're engaging, and that others would like to work with you. So I've looked at some people's social media accounts. I looked at a couple today just so it was fresh in my mind. And I won't say the name because they might be watching. But I look at, somebody may post something, and then there may be 30 comments, and all of the comments are people who are like asking questions or giving them compliments or just random stuff, and there's no response. There's no engagement. There's no nobody is reaching out. There's no customer service. These are your customers, clients, volunteers, donors. There's no type of interaction as if these people don't exist. These are real people. If you had a store and people came into your store and they were asking you questions all day, you have to. One of the main themes that I'm going to keep drilling home is your social media is like your store. It's like your office. So treat it how you would treat your office. If somebody wrote down questions and brought them to your office, then you wouldn't ignore that person. You wouldn't. If somebody brought me a question, you wouldn't just stand there as they're asking you questions and just, okay, yeah, I saw it. Just not, keep, and let them walk right out. Because once again, within the nonprofit space, we had a little bit of talk offline. Sorry, Facebook, a lot of y'all kind of missed it. But we had a talk a little bit before we started about how difficult it is to fund programs or to fund things that you're passionate about. And one of the biggest problems or biggest issues that people have with that is people have investment capital, or they have money that they would like to donate, or they have, or they're willing to volunteer, but they don't know where to go. There's plenty of people that ask me all the time who are they're interested in things that my nonprofit organization doesn't do, or they're interested in businesses that I don't have anything to do with, and they ask me, well, where can I go? And I may send them to a person or to an organization, and they come back to me with questions. Okay, I went to their website, I still don't know what they do. I went to their social media, I still don't really understand. And hey, I sent them an email, nobody got back to me. Hey, I sent them a message, nobody got back to me. Facebook now makes it easy for you to see how often you're responding to people. They score it. So if you look on your Facebook page now, I can't pull it up on my computer, way over there in the back. But if you look on your Facebook page and you go to where it has the messages, if you look, it says it shows your response time. One, it tells you what percentage of the time that you actually respond, period. Do you respond 100% of the time? Or do you respond 90% of the time? It gives you a score right there. On Facebook, come on.
Hi guys.
Hello. On your Facebook page also tells you how often, how long it takes you to respond. So if I'm coming to this is the difference between people coming to your Facebook page and you can see how often you respond. It's 60, 70, 80, 90% of the time. When people visit your page, they can see how long it takes you to respond. So if they want to send you a message for something that's super urgent and it says usually responds within 2 weeks, then that's not really helpful. They keep track of it. So now that you know that, please.
That's actually public?
Yes, it's very public.
Really?
So yes, if you go to somebody else's Facebook page and you get ready to send them a message, right under there's like a bar that's right under the message. It says usually responds within 1 hour, usually responds within 24 hours, usually responds within 3 days. There are some pages that I've created that I no longer manage that I hope nobody is sending messages there because. Man, my response time is probably way longer than that. And when I see it, there's ways to get around that. They have you can set notifications from your Facebook app. They have a Facebook page manager app for Android, it's for iPhone, it's for Windows Phone maybe. I don't know if you have a Windows phone, then you're probably not watching this anyway. But they have apps so that you can keep track of these things, so that you don't fall behind in that way. And number 7, this is the last on this list, and I'll switch gears. Know the players. So if you're determined to make it in a particular industry, you should know who the important people are, what they do, and how they got there. So within your respective space, if it's the nonprofit industry, if it's the for-profit industry, whatever it is that you do, you should have a stranglehold on who the people are in your industry who matter. I'm in marketing, I know Gary Vee because he matters. That's the reason why I started with that video. If somebody said, "Hey, you know Gary Vee," and I said no, then I either don't know what I'm talking about or I'm lying. And I'm those people who who's like I was saying earlier, when you walk by them and you say, or when you walk by them on the street and they send you a message later on like, "Hey, I think I saw you earlier." Like you gotta make those connections and make sure that you know the people because you can utilize them to your advantage. When I'm teaching marketing classes to large groups of people, I may use Gary Vee quotes. I may use Gary Vee videos because I know that that's something that's relevant to the market. If you're in that space, then you know that. If I'm in a nonprofit space, then I know the Urban Affairs Coalition because they're one of the biggest nonprofit organizations in Philadelphia. And not only that, but they support other nonprofit organizations. And that's the reason why you should know the players because they can support you. They can help you. Did you find it?
No, I didn't.
Okay. In a second, I'll show it to you. So the next, switching gears, and I'll go back to what I was talking about before, or you can watch the video later. So switching gears for a second, I kind of touched on this briefly earlier about people that have like multiple social media accounts. So you may have one personal account, one business account, one account that's just for memes. You may have a Snapchat that nobody knows about that you post whatever to because it disappears in 24 hours. What's the worst that can happen? So I want to tell you a horror story and then I'll explain to you how you can avoid this happening. So I had a client who had a Snapchat that when they registered for Snapchat, they put their actual cell phone number in. So everybody who had that cell phone number saved who was on Snapchat got a notification, hey, so-and-so is on Snapchat now. And you may know how to find out who's following you, but for the most part, most people on Snapchat don't know who's following them until you post something. So has a personal Facebook page, a business Facebook page, a personal Instagram page, business page. But on Snapchat, it doesn't matter. It's one page fits all. Long story short, this particular person posted a series of things on their Snapchat that could have and almost did ruin their business because people who were their business contacts that they had saved in that particular cell phone were given a notification, hey, so-and-so's on Snapchat, come check it out. And they went to check it out, it was not what they were looking for. But the reason I bring this story up is because people feel like they can hide on the internet. You cannot hide on the internet. Once it's online, it's online for all to see. Even if you have a private page. Let me start there. So if your Instagram, your Twitter, if your Facebook page is private, that does not matter. It does not mean that you should create one page so you can go post a bunch of memes that have nothing to do with your business. Or one page so you can. It does not matter. Once it has your name or your picture or is somehow connected to your mobile device, people can see what you're posting. Even if it's private. There's ways to see private posts. All you gotta do is copy the link and post it somewhere. You can see. Like if you have somebody's page and you copy a link from it and send it to somebody, they put it in like a browser, as long as it's not in that particular app, then they still can see that content. Cleaning up your social media is one of the most important things that you can do to try to spread the gospel of what it is that your organization does. That's just one horror story. I've seen plenty of things. I've been working in social media for about 10 years now. 10 years. 8 years. Sorry. Still, 10 years. So, over the course of that time, I've seen people do things that I'm sure they regret. I'm sure that they wish that they had never posted those things. And once it's there, you can't take it back. A screenshot is like that. So if you post it, that was a mistake, you take it right down still. That screenshot could live somewhere. You can end up on like TMZ. I would refrain from posting things or from commenting on things or liking things that you don't think are a good fit for your business. A couple reasons why. One is because you can't control public perception. You can influence it, but you can't control it. So once people think something about you, once a group of people think something about you, those are your customers, donors, volunteers, whoever. That message spreads like wildfire, especially if it's negative. So we're talking about 20 years ago. So 20 years ago, Biggie was alive, and if you had a bad experience, then you would share with this one, two, three. There's a nice group of people here. So if you had a bad experience, say Chanel, if you had a bad experience, and you share it with the person next to you, she might tell the person next to her, and maybe it might die by the time it gets to the window. But now, if you have a bad experience, the first thing that people do is pick up their phones and they say, look what happened in Target earlier today, boycott Target, and then next thing you know, Target's got a lawsuit, or Target's got a hashtag down with Target. And you can't fight that because you lost control of your narrative. The way that you can combat that is by not doing it. I know you feel like when you see something that's really funny, if you're scrolling and you're like, oh, this is really funny, I want to post it. Stop and think. You may think it's funny. You may think it's appropriate. But what about the people who you service? Or what about the people who you serve? Let me take a step back again. You do not have to post it. It is not a necessity that every meme, every joke, every video, everything that you see, you don't have to post it. We have direct messages, which is still not very safe. But if you have to share, you can text it to somebody. You can email it to them. You can screenshot it and show it to them later, because that's what people are going to do with your post. But you absolutely do not have to post it. That is one thing. Like I was speaking to my younger group earlier. I mean, not earlier. It's like a few weeks ago, and we were going over this similar subject. They're like, well, how am I going to find it later on? What if it was really funny, and what if I want to show somebody? Like, what if it doesn't matter? Like, what if it has nothing to do with your organization, with your business, with you, then just leave it alone. It's not worth losing your nonprofit, or losing your donors, or losing the support that you've taken so long to garner. So you should be focusing on focused content. You want to be thought of as like a thought leader in your industry, and your niche in the industry, not just thought leader in like the nonprofit space. That's like a wide overarching thing. But whatever it is that your organization focuses on, you want to be seen as the thought leader or the upper echelon in that particular industry. So you want to post content that's relevant to that. So when people do screenshot something, or when they do share something with somebody else, it makes you look smart instead of making you look dumb. Oh, so a friend of mine is on Wall Street. All the stuff that he posts has something to do with stocks and bonds and things of that nature. And if I see something on his page and I think is really interesting, and I think nobody knows about it, I'm going to repost it. Now my followers and my following is going to his page. They might follow him. It's kind of the same thing. If your nonprofit, I don't think there's any stock nonprofits, but if your nonprofit sells apples and you have a really interesting fact about apples and you share it with somebody who cares about fruit, then next thing fruits and vegetables, then next thing you know, you have more followers because people care about this thing. And that's kind of what you want to do. You want to focus on driving traffic that you need instead of just a few funny ha-has, because I see funny stuff all the time. I couldn't name the page of the last funny thing I saw. I could probably name the joke, but I don't know where it came from because I wasn't thinking about that. That wasn't my focus. But if it's information that lasts longer and that travels much faster. So focused content, industry relevant content, and then so we touched a little bit about this about the phone numbers, but how these these algorithms work on your social networks. If you have more than one page, they're all connected still. So if your personal page and your business page, it doesn't matter which information you put in, eventually somehow they'll become connected. especially if you're the face of your brand, then you being the face of your brand, it doesn't matter if you have a brand page. I have 9 different, and this is just Instagram. I have 9 different Instagram accounts. And even though I no longer manage some of them personally, people who met me through that particular business or that particular that organization, every time they see something posted, they just assume it's me. It probably hasn't been me for years, but they still assume it's me. So if they see something on there that they feel is inappropriate or if they feel is disrespectful, then I might get a text. Hey, why would you say such and such? Now, hey, I don't know what you're talking about, but still, people still make those type of connections. So just be careful with that. Now, I need y'all to do something. Are you ready? We're gonna take a pledge. I have a social media pledge. I need y'all to take it with me. Y'all too. I need you to take the social media pledge. Are you ready? Right hands. Right hands. Right hands. Yeah, you look like this. Okay. I promise that because I respect myself, and I plan to be really, 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 really rich someday. And I care about the future of my business. That I will delete all nonsense from my social media today. I don't care what people think. But I care about my success. So I wrote that for my teams, but it definitely applies to y'all too. So I just had to share. I can't do it without that. So the next thing I want to show you, I gotta run back to the computer real quick, but I'll just try to project. So just keep listening. So I have sometimes you have to they call create compelling spec.
It's still Gary Vaynerchuk. The shopping. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. That's okay.
It says like a toting sign there, so like
All right.
we'll get toting an hour.
All right. So where is it? Oh, this is here. Okay. So about 2 years ago, I was covering something called Philly Tech Week. So Philly Tech Week is like this annual thing that they had in Philly. And one of my clients, as a gift for what I did, they created this. So it was a 3D print of when I was standing in their office the last time. I'm not sure if you can see it. Like it got dark a little bit. It might be the screen. But I'll put it. And you can pass it around. You want to see it. So the reason why this is relevant is because this 2/25 my size miniature became an internet sensation, I guess you would say, so to speak. Right now, it's got almost 2,000 followers. It's only 21 posts. I'll scroll down. Can you scroll down? On some of the posts, just so you can see, it's literally nothing special. I did it as a joke. I created this Instagram page as a joke. I didn't think it was going to make any difference. I didn't think anybody was going to follow it. And it has, if you were to click any one of these posts, you can now, I'm not trying to trick y'all into following this page, but if you want to see what I'm talking about, then you can go to 3D Minispit and you can look at all of the pictures. They have like hundreds and thousands of likes. People who've never been to my page, who've never liked any of my stuff, don't follow me probably, that follow this page. And the really relevant part about this is that people like things more than they like people. And that works to your advantage because you're not necessarily promoting people, you're promoting your organization. The reason why people seem to like things more than they like people is the same reason why people like memes and they repost all of that stuff, is because this is a lot easier to digest than a person. Actually, I don't know if some of the people who follow this think this actually is a real person, but I mean, whatever. I think these pictures are really good. I did a good job. There's more. You can see me scroll down. There's more. It gets really funny after a while. Sometimes when I take trips, I'll just take it with me, take pictures if it's on vacation. Knowing who you're talking to is very important. And one of the main reasons why, one of the main reasons why that's really important is because I had no idea that this would happen. So I could have easily started posting crazy stuff on here, even though that's definitely my face. But this is just an example. People would track this back to my organization, to my business, and this could have been bad for me. It's actually been really good because when people find it, they're like, why did you do this and where did you get all of these people from? I've never bought any of these followers. I've never really promoted this page. People just so happen to come across it probably by like hashtags or something like that. And then once they find it, it's kind of good for business. It's just a gimmick. It is something that helps. But this actually helps me identify my audience better. Because what I started to do later on, you scroll down a little bit more? Because what I started, these are like the most recent pictures, but so as you can see, this is something from my personal page. That's something from my business page. This is one of my clients, Jet Smarter, because it fit the brand. I am on the jet. But as before, it was just this picture is in that windowsill over there. But before, I was just taking random pictures. Like, it didn't really mean anything. And once I started to see the type of traction that it generated, then I said, okay, I have to kind of figure out how I can send this back to me. Like, how can I make this work for my business? And that's kind of what I did. Talking with people instead of talking at them is what we were describing earlier about having those conversations and making sure that you're engaging with the people. So what I did is I started to go into the comments and look at some of the people that were here. I started to follow them, look at what they were doing, see if they were people who could benefit from my services. Maybe I could benefit from theirs, or maybe I could take 3 spin and put them somewhere, get some type of like endorsement deal, which maybe in the works. I just do it. But and that was kind of it. Just kind of showed me that I solidified. I always used to say people like things more than they like people. But it kind of like solidified this for me because once I started to see that how people gravitated towards this more than, some of the people I know. These are people who like I've actually met. And when I check my other pages, they don't follow any of the other pages. They only follow this because they found this really interesting. I found a bunch of reposts of people making memes about this, and it kind of was funny. But it helped. I think I might have gained maybe 10 to 12 clients just from this alone. And this wasn't even really like a sales funnel or like a channel. It just was a joke that it turned into this. And with this kind of, I want to go to the next thing. I'll stay here for a second. We are moving from, or we've moved. We're pretty much already there. We've moved from this product-focused economy to a service-focused economy. And services like Instagram and all of these other tech companies are where your audience is going to meet you. So you have to create compelling spectacles. And they're still that are relevant. This is what I would call the vice president of like the Sixers. Like I like to say things are on brand or off brand. This is on brand. You got a question? Mm-hmm. Okay, sure.
So when we talk about strategy in general for social media, and you put together a plan of the content that you want to produce, like how do you manage that and hold yourself accountable to staying on, like to doing those things? I mean, so many different platforms, it's only but so many hours in the day, like, and I'm like, yes, I want to have a great social media presence, but like, how do I put together a plan and how can I manage, like, populating this content?
So there's a couple of ways you can do it. I'll just outline 3 really quick. So the one thing is you have to create a schedule. just like you said, there's only a certain amount of hours in the day, so you can't try to stretch yourself into 36 hours in a day when there's only 24. One of the most important things is to realize that you are not scalable. Businesses are scalable. Nonprofits are scalable. You are not scalable. And as far as I know, we haven't invented cloning yet. I'm not sure if somebody knows something. I don't know. Please raise your hand. I don't know if anybody has a clone. Well, I mean, I kind of got a clone, but he don't do nothing. So with that, you have to create a schedule and try your best to stick to it. If you're going to do 5 posts a week, then make sure that those 5 posts are relevant and make sure that they're on brand and that they draw people in to what you're doing. It's kind of difficult to set a ceiling, which is why that shouldn't be. If you're the founder, if you're the CEO, if you're the president, or whatever the case may be, you really need to have a person to manage social media because it's kind of almost a full-time job. You need to be able to, like I was saying, to engage with people when you set that schedule. If you have 5 Facebook posts a week, 10 Twitter posts a week, then somebody has to also go back and check the mentions and check the follows, see who the people are that are engaging. And let's expand the social media conversation outside of what people call as like traditional social media. So it's not just Facebook and Twitter. It's also YouTube. Your email is a form of social media. It's social. You get media from it. That's it. It's right there in the name. So you have to kind of make sure that all of these things funnel together. And I'll actually come back to that particular piece a little later on because it's something more specific I want to address with it. But with these sort of things, like if I created this and I said I was going to manage this on a daily basis, now this is number 10. I have 9 other accounts plus this, and I can't manage all this stuff by myself. Actually, right now, and not many people know this, I don't manage any of my social media at this point. Not my personal, not my business, none of that. That is a job for other people to do. Now, I give direction, I may provide content, but I'm not focused on how I engage with people, how I check the comments, because I can't. It's not enough hours in the day for me to do all these things. That was the first part of your question. What was the second part of your question, Felicia?
How do you hold yourself accountable?
How do you hold yourself accountable? So with the schedule, they have apps. I'm not really going to promote any one app or another because they're pretty much all the same. But they have like Hootsuite, which is one way to absolutely hold yourself accountable. Not only what I used to do. So let's go back a few years. I used to sit in my office on Sundays. I would create my social media schedule for the week, sometimes even for the month, and that way I know it's done. I would set reminders on my phone. Check such and such. Now I have reminders like drink water, make sure you eat, go to sleep at a certain time. At that particular time, it was check Twitter, check Facebook, check Instagram, because otherwise I wouldn't recommend this if you have to focus on this more often. But for my sanity, I've turned off all my notifications for all my social media. You need to turn on all your notifications for all your social media. The reason why I turned them off is because they were distracting to me, and that's not my job. It made me feel like I had to check it when I didn't. You need those constant reminders that, oh, I didn't check this. Oh, I should have checked this today. Even if you turn off your notifications, put it on your calendar. Make it a daily event. I'm going to check my social media as soon as I wake up at 7 a.m. I'm going to check it at my lunchtime, and I'll check it before I go to bed. Those 3 times, and you should be good. And unless you have an event or you have something special going on that day, those 3 times a day, you should be good. You don't really need to focus too much energy on it, but you need to make sure that is actually coupled with a non-social media strategy, which is what I wanted to get to next. Facebook, Facebook, Airbnb. I'm pretty sure that some of y'all haven't heard this spiel before, so just bear with me. Facebook is the largest content creator in the world. They don't actually do anything. Who creates the content for Facebook? Yeah, people do. Users. Airbnb is the largest hotelier in the world, and they don't own any property. Who owns the property? We do. The same thing with Alibaba. They're the largest shipping company in the world. They're even bigger. Largest retail company in the world. They're even bigger than Amazon because they don't have any warehouses. You direct ship through Alibaba to other people. They don't hold anything. And the same thing with Uber and being the largest taxi company in the world. They don't own any cars. Who owns the cars? You do, and limousine companies who are like licensed to work with Uber, they own it. So with that being said, people are not always going to be able to meet you. They're going to find you in one of these particular platforms. They may find you on Facebook. You might meet somebody in Uber, but probably not. So with that being said, because we moved from this personal personal interaction space and from this meeting people in person, and we meet more, we have more interaction through social media. You have to, again, I think I said this was going to be the theme of this whole thing, is you have to meet people on social media how you would meet them in person. You have to have the same level of interaction that you would have when you meet somebody from a networking event. Like how often, I just want to see if anybody knows, how soon do they say you should follow up with somebody if you meet them at a networking event? In 2 days, some people say 24 hours. It should be the same thing through your social media. People shouldn't be on your page longer than 24 hours, 2 days, without you at least addressing if they're relevant. Sometimes it might be be a person or be a business or some organization that has no relevance to what you do, and you may not need to address those people. But if people are reaching out to you through social media, it shouldn't go longer than 24 hours. It shouldn't go longer than 2 days. You're not too cool to accept these people's money or to accept their assistance if they're looking to volunteer with your organization. It's not about how you look. It's more so about what you can gain from them, because that's what the business is social networking. It's not social standing on a wall or social walking past people. It's social networking. So a network is if you were right in front of that person. So that creates your social capital. So people say, oh, he's really cool. I would want to come to his organization's gala, or I would want to make a donation to this particular this initiative that they have going on, or I want to volunteer at their annual holiday event, and they may have never met you before. All they know is what they see online. But if their engagement with you is lacking, if you're not responding to them in real time, then the two things happen. One, it makes them not really connect to you, and then it makes them question your connection to your cause. Because if you don't care about talking to people, then you can't be that passionate about what you're doing. If you don't care about responding to people who are trying to help, then you must not care that much. And that may not be the case. You may be really busy. But once again, going back to what I said earlier, you can't control how people feel, but you can't control public perception. Once this opinion gets out into the public, then it spreads. Oh, she thinks she's too good to respond to people. He thinks he's too good to answer my question. I don't want to go to this gala now, or I don't support them anymore. And then it kind of spirals into something else. So make sure that you keep that you're fluid with the communication. The science of reputation, and this goes beyond. This goes with your nonprofit, but this also goes beyond, because once again, you are your own walking billboard. So whether people know you or not, with Urban Affairs Coalition, Charmaine Matlock-Turner may walk out of the Urban Affairs Coalition. She's still wearing the Urban Affairs Coalition. That's on her all the time. When Felicia walks out of High Touch, she's still wearing High Touch. It doesn't matter where she goes. When I walk outside, I'm still wearing Sporty marketing. That's on me all day. I can't take it off. People see me and they see that business. So your reputation is like gold, and you should protect it as such. So the science of reputation. That is another random question. I just want to see if you're still awake. Why does a fish only bite another fish when nobody is looking? Fish do bite each other. It's true. But why does one fish only bite another fish when nobody is looking? So the reason why, and I read this somewhere, it's actually true. I'm not making this up. I promise. The reason why fish only bite when no people are around is because they want us as humans or the people who are caring for them or to look at them as weak. They want us to think that they need us to to provide, that we have to keep giving them food and taking care of them and not tapping on the glass. Shout out to Nemo. But all of those things, that's the perception. So it's kind of the same thing. Is why do people overshare online? Why do some people meet trivial insults with extreme violence? It's all to protect their reputation. That's the long and short. I know it was a long way to it, but it's to protect their reputation. Fish are traditionally thought of as weak, and they like fish food. I don't know. I never had it before. It might be good. Almost from the moment we were born, we're trying to work out whom we can trust and trying to make others think the best of us. We carry on doing this throughout life, and we don't even realize it. Every time we meet another person in business, friendship, or through romance, every time we read some gossip, and every time we tweak our Facebook profiles, is because you're trying to protect your reputation. Because your reputation, and not just your reputation, but your reputation equals your business reputation. I usually, at this particular point, I name names, but again, these people, I'm not. This is all alleged, and I can't really say anything. But there are some people who are currently in the news who represent organizations, or who worked for certain organizations, or who are sponsored by certain organizations. And when something happens to them, people automatically look at that organization and say, well, what do you guys think about this? How could you support this person doing this? It's kind of the same thing that we've been addressing since earlier. That is a part of your reputation, of all of that stuff. And then before I wrap up, I just want to address something that's really, really important. So, I don't have time to shoot the video, but it's like this. Does anybody know who Ryan Leslie is?
The producer?
Yeah. So Ryan Leslie is a music producer. He was in the music industry for a long time. He's still in the music industry, but he's in a different stage of his career right now. I want you to write this down. This is a very important part of social media strategy, but it's also about social media marketing. It's called IMO, Identifying Market Opportunities. So Ryan Leslie created something called a superphone. And the reason why he created superphone is because he realized a long time ago something that I'm about to really stress to you now. And it's that all of these connections you're making on social media are not yours. You do not own those relationships, and at any given time they can be taken away from you. So you need to make sure that, one, you leverage those connections outside of social media, and two will come in a second, so just wait for number two. So Superphone is an ad. It is like essentially an ad. I'm not even sure if it's still out, but this was his idea. And it basically, because Ryan Leslie sells music, so he was selling his music through iTunes, which you can substitute iTunes and Ryan Leslie for you and whatever channel you use. I'm just using this to paint a picture, since the screen doesn't want to cooperate with me today. Cool, I'll deal with you tomorrow. So he created Superphone because he was selling his music through iTunes. So how iTunes works, I'm not sure if anybody knows, but how it works, and I'm pretty sure it's just the same with whatever channel you guys are using. If something costs $10, $7 goes to the person, $3 goes to the service. That's kind of how it works. So you don't get all of the content. What do you have to do when you buy something from iTunes? It is the same thing that you have to do when you sign up for a social network. You got to give email address, name, address, phone number, first and last name, maybe even the last four of your social. I'm not sure. I don't know. It's been a while. But all of this information that you give up just to purchase something. It's not like you're giving this information and they're giving you something for free. You give up all this information. Facebook doesn't say, oh, since you gave us all of this demographic information, then when you get ready to post the ad, it's going to be free. We won't charge you. No, they still charge you, and they keep your credit card information on file just in case you want to buy something else. Okay, in case you want to send somebody money through Messenger. So when you sign up for iTunes and you say, okay, I'm going to buy this album from Ryan Leslie, and they say, great. So now I'll pick somebody around. I'll pick up Jazz. Okay, Jazz. So I bought Ryan Leslie's album, right? Now Jazz is putting out an album that next week. iTunes says, based on you buying Ryan Leslie's album, I think that you would like Jazzy's World, the new album coming out. Does Ryan Leslie make any money if I buy Jasmine's album because I bought his album? No, not at all. Because he doesn't own that relationship. Once you give up all of your power to these other networks, then you no longer have control of you can't make any direct connections. Now, let's say Ryan Leslie sends iTunes an email, he gives them a phone call and says, hey, I just sold 1 million copies of my last album. Can you send me the email addresses or like the locations because I'm trying to plan my tour. Can you tell me where these people are or something like that? What's iTunes going to say? No, they might even say hell no. Do you know why though? Do you know why they can't give up? Why they can't give up that information? HIPAA, no, yeah. HIPAA is a good. That's the best answer I ever got to this. It's not HIPAA because it's not health insurance, but it's because the terms and conditions, which nobody ever read, says, "Oh, I'm gonna give you all this information, but we can never redistribute it, not even to you." So with your social media, it's kind of the same thing. You have right now. I think on my personal Instagram, I think I have like somewhere around like 17 or like 18,000 followers, right? A lot of those people are on my email list already. Not all. I don't know all of those people. I've never met all those people. I probably will never meet all of those people. And if I was to write Instagram and say, hey, I'm having our annual fundraising gala, can you send me the email addresses of all my followers? They might not even respond. They will probably print that email out and put it on the board and throw darts at it and laugh because that is not going to happen. You need to start leveraging your social content into emails, into phone numbers, into any type of interaction that you can get. I'm not trying to scare you, but I will tell you what I see on the horizon. Speaking of horizon, Verizon just bought Yahoo. So now your Yahoo email is going to be converted to Verizon email. So now Verizon inherits everything that you put into Yahoo. What's Verizon's business? They have mobile search. They have they have wireless internet. They have wireless phones. So all of these things, I'm pretty sure that they'll start using this information to market things to you. But you don't gain anything from that because you don't own that relationship. You don't have any skin in that game. So I would start focusing on how to get people to subscribe to your email list, subscribe to your text marketing list.
So some of the tools that you use to manage your email list, like sending out large mass blasts of information.
So it depends on what I'm using it for. So how I manage my email list is I use a Google Sheets. That's how I keep track of it because no matter where I am, I mean, I'm not like the biggest Google fan, but Google Sheets makes it so, Google period makes it so I can take my desktop anywhere. So all of my documents are in Google Docs. All of my things are in Google Sheets. I have all of this stuff, and I keep it spread across a couple of different Google accounts, so it's not all in one in case it ever gets hacked. But that's how you should keep track of it. Now, how to send it out? You can upload those lists into MailChimp, into a Constant Contact, into it. Now, the reason why I was saying it depends is because if you're having an event that's something that's more specific that you don't want to invite your whole list to, then you may be able to use paperless post or one of like the other type of like invitation only email services. but it's really difficult to send out a mass invite through Facebook. How many can you pull out your phones right now, please? Go to your Facebook app just while I'm talking. Go to your Facebook app and tell me how many event invites you had that you never responded to, or probably didn't even see. If you go to an event, you're like, I never even got this notification. So that's not the way to do it anymore. It used to be. It used to be before it was oversaturated. Now they have billions of users. What's your number? You laugh, Jess.
I don't even know. You're right.
People.
Limited amount of people you can tag and say.
Yeah. So for Instagram, you can use up to 30 hashtags per post, and that's 30 hashtags within your caption and your comment. So if you post four hashtags in your caption, then you can only put 26 in your comments. That's fast math. So you can only put 26 in your comments. And the same thing with like tags. You can only tag 20 people per picture on Instagram. You can't tag people in videos. There's a lot of, I think on Facebook you can only tag up to like 100 people per post. Like, so if you put a post, but I'm actually not a fan of doing that, because when you do that, that's like infringing on somebody's basically on their page. Because if I was to tag everybody in here or something, right, and somebody that's not here comments on it, then what's going to happen? Everybody's phone is going to, every time that somebody comments on it, everybody's going to get a notification. And I'll go from like supporting D-Line to be like, yo, I wish they never tagged me in this. It makes it kind of changes that that feeling. So if you want to get like those like direct connection, that you don't want to send 50 emails a week, but have you ever been on somebody's page and you look at their bio and it says like hacked at 10K, hacked at 20K, hacked at 30K? That means they had a network. They had the world in the palm of their hand, and it was ripped out from under them, and they had to start all over again. They probably had no way to contact any of those people. I just did a session when I was in I can't remember where I was, and it was like maybe about 300 people in the room, and I said, of all the people in here, raise your hand if you have a way to contact 100% of your followers outside of that social network. Nobody's hand went up. I said 75%. Nobody's hand went up. 50%. Nobody's hand went up. I said 25%. Nobody's hand went up. I said if you can contact between 5 and 10% of the people on your social network without using that social network, raise your hand. I got 4 hands. And they were probably lying. But and they were most likely lying. Because people don't think about that. We never think about the bubble popping, because we, in this particular room, we probably weren't really focused on the tech industry when the bubble popped the first time. In like the year 2000 and 99, we weren't focused on this stuff that we're focused on now. So we weren't thinking that, those people weren't thinking. One of my mentors had a business during that particular time, during the first tech boom. And once things started to collapse, it kind of was like a domino effect, and it can happen again. I'm starting to see the writings on the wall of this bubble popping. Facebook is probably safe. Instagram is safe because it's owned by Facebook, but Snapchat's out of here soon. Twitter is probably going to be out of here soon. Tumblr is probably going to be out of here soon. Vine is going. Vine. Can we have a moment of silence for Vine? Nobody's doing it for the Vine anymore because there is no Vine. So these networks are like disappearing, and if you don't capture your audience now, then you'll lose them forever. Because you'll run into them in the street. Nobody. We're talking in the beginning. We were talking about how when you meet somebody in like a networking event and you see them again, you're like, oh, I know you from somewhere. But if you meet somebody from social media, people think that's weird to just walk up to people like, oh, I follow you. But you have to get out of that like comfort zone. Get out
of the virtual world.
Yeah, get out of the virtual world. So you own a towing company?
Yeah. Okay.
So if you have your towing company and you see somebody on your timeline who's like stuck, got a flat tire, and I wish I had to tell you. You're not gonna be like, man, that's messed up. Keep scrolling. You gonna sit in the comment, hey, where you at? I'm on my way. Like that's that's because that's a part of what you're supposed to do. If you see that same person on the street, you're not gonna go, oh yeah, that's that girl. So you're gonna say, yo, what's up? Remember me? Because you want to keep that repeat business, and that's what it's really all about, is making sure that people feel as comfortable with you online as they do seeing you in person. Like that's the main thing. And back to the question, I know I went like way for it, but capturing those email addresses, those ways to contact people outside of social media is what really matters. When I'm having an event these days, I sometimes, it might not even make it to my social media. I might send out a text to a couple of people. I might send maybe a couple of DMs. I might not even put it out into the public because I may only want a select group of people. Or like even if I want to send it to everybody, I'm not really using that as my only way to get the information out. There was an event, what was that, last Sunday? There was an event that went on. I found out about it through text. I think I had it on my calendar and like still forgot about it. Nobody was posting about it, so like it's like it didn't even happen to me. I was like, oh, I forgot all about it. But if I had got a direct text message like that day, or I'm sorry, I found out about it through social media, and then the day of, nobody was posting about it, no hashtag, and later on that night is when people started posting pictures from the event. It wasn't a lot of people there, I could tell, because they were relying on just the social media to break people out. I got an email today that this event was canceled because of the same reason, because this organization, again, I'm not naming anything, but this organization relied on social media to sell the tickets. That can't be your only way. There's people who I know that have 200 and 300 followers on, like, across. They might have 300 followers across 4 social networks, and they can have an event and 3,000 people will show up. It's just based on whatever your connections are. So I mean, I kind of saved this part for the end because it's the most important part. I want you to understand how to utilize social media to your advantage and how to have a strategy for it, but also to really understand that is not the end-all, be-all of this game, especially with small businesses and with nonprofit organizations. Larger businesses, if you're like a BET or like a Revolt or like a Complex, or if you're, these larger multi-million-dollar organizations, they're not even relying on their social media. They're putting commercials, billboards, and all these other places that people can see this stuff, but own those consumer relationships, because wherever you can identify those market opportunities, try to track them. Try to track them wherever you can. If you recognize a person, if you see a person and you ride by them, and it may be a person who is from your social media or somebody who is like a return client, beep the horn at them. Beep, they're gonna say, man, that guy just beeped me. I don't know him. But they'll see you again, like, oh, that's the guy that beat that beat. It's kind of like that.
I have a question.
Sure.
Were you going to go?
I have an answer.
So, I hope so. This is, okay. So, what role do you think, so say for instance, I have a Facebook page which I do for a company, and I'm trying to market, the company's international, I'm trying to market. Do you think it makes sense to actually buy names, put up ads through Facebook? In your experience, do you think that it makes sense if you're not on the ground in where you're trying to market?
So I'm glad you brought that up because you mentioned this earlier. But you had a question about the analytics. So I'll give you 2 answers. If we're on Facebook, I'll give you the answer that Facebook is going to be happy about, and I'll give you the answer that Facebook is not going to be happy about. It does make sense, and it's very valuable if you target it well. If you target the ad as well, then yes, because you can reach people who may never find your page otherwise. And once, like how the algorithms work, is your page will be exposed to the people who follow it, the friends of the person who created it, and then the friends of the people who follow it. Once you target ads, then you expand that network. So it's you create the page, and then it's you and the page are pretty much one and the same. So if you create it, it's like your page. And then it goes into your friends. And then it goes into the friends of the people on the page. And once you start to create ads, for every person that sees it or clicks it, now it goes to their timeline. Now it's friends of friends and people who you're not even connected to at all. So you may start to go to the page and click things and see like, oh, I don't even know who these people are or what country they came from or whatever the case may be. So yes, it does. The flip side to that, and it goes to your question also, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, because they're owned by Facebook, and WhatsApp, well, they don't have access to it. All these social networks are grossly inflating these numbers. It's not accurate. It's not possible that some of this stuff is accurate. You are paying for what I like to call, you might want to break this down to, vanity metrics. Because that's really all it is. It makes you feel good. It makes it look like it's doing something. You feel like you didn't waste your money. But a lot of this stuff is, you have to be very careful utilizing their tools that they have inside Facebook. You got to use outside tools to monitor that. If you want to look at Twitter, you can use TwitterAudit.com. I think they have FacebookAudit.com. But you can you can run a campaign on Facebook, and then you can take the link to the page and put it in FacebookAudit.com and see how many of those pages of those new people who are added to the page are actual active users. Yes.
What I've found in the end is I use paid ads for email capture.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a lot less response. It's much, much lower. But they're authentic people who are actually interested in what you're doing.
Exactly.
So
they have email.
Yeah, and they would give you something
Yeah.
if they weren't actually interested. So then there's because you can spend a lot of money on, even $5 a day starts to add up.
It definitely adds
you
up
can
over 30 days,
you can blow through a lot of money for nothing, and like you said, you rack up your numbers, but it does skew your analytics because you start getting people who aren't really interested in your product or your service. So
and Facebook has a way to make you feel bad about not using their services. So if you run an ad, you know that you may be familiar, if you have a Facebook page that's not your personal page, then you're familiar with the red and green arrows. So when you go to your page and it says your reach is up, your reach is up 3,000 people, and as soon as that ad is up, your reach is down 4,000 people. You're like, oh my God, I lost 4,000 people. No, you didn't lose anything. It's just trying to get you to buy another ad. It's like it's a psychological thing to make you think that you lost these imaginary people.
I just wanted to add on. So when you do sponsor ads, you're really just going for impressions. So a good impression on average is probably like 0.08. And like when people put banner ads on things, the average rate for that is 0.01. So if you go on WorldStar or any website, you have a banner ad, they're just playing for 0.12% that's going to that site. So you're just paying for impressions, and the people that add on to the people that go in detail with what the campaign is about, that's what you're fighting for, that 1% or that 2%.
That's what you're really is. Let's to build on what he said, that it's the value. Let me try to find it. I think I have this in my phone. I think it's going to the computer. There's a formula for that, and I will pull it up, but it's not the formula. What I'll do is I'll send it to y'all via email. Everybody who registered, I'll send it to you via email. There's a formula for
impressions. You said like the formula?
No, it's actually deeper than that. I'll tell you in 1 second. I had to read it because I don't want to say it wrong. So it's the arithmetic of first impressions, which is the same. It's the same thing. I wanted to get into this, but I knew I wasn't around the time. That's why I didn't get into it. So the arithmetic of like first impressions is the same thing as far as impressions online. So where first impressions equals V over CPI divided by 1,000. So V is the value of the interaction. CPI is the cost per interaction, and then divided by 1,000 people or 1,000 impressions or whatever the case may be. Online first impressions are equals clicks over CTR, which is the click-through rate. So that's what you were just describing. So the value of each interaction over the cost per interaction divided by 1,000 gives you that 0.0012 or 0.001, and sometimes it's not worth it. Like you say, it's really not worth the investment into those ads because it may not be getting you what you want unless you're getting it to capture emails, which does go there. That's a great strategy there is capturing those emails. That's what's really going to matter. If you wake up tomorrow and like Instagram is like, oh yeah, you're out of business, then what do you do? It's like, okay, well just think about all the people that sell hair and tea and wraps and all these other things that they don't have a store, they have no other way to sell this stuff. So if there's no Instagram, they have no business. And I'm pretty sure there's a person who I know who was selling T-shirts through Instagram, but not keeping track of like the email addresses from PayPal. So they don't have any way to see who even bought from them, like who purchased these things. There's nonprofit organizations who they accept donations through Instagram, but if they're not tracking where these donations are coming from and who did it and like how much and how frequently they did it, they don't have a donor base. So you gotta keep that type of stuff up. Any other questions?
I have a question about outsourcing.
Okay.
So you say you have like 2 pages.
Yeah.
How do you outsource in a way that your content creation stays on your brand? Like how do you manage that?
Okay, so what I was saying before, I think I was saying that like I don't manage any of them like hands-on. I'll from time to time I'll check them to see what's on there and then make sure it's still on brand. But you create that schedule. This is to Felicia's earlier question. Is you create the schedule of what you want posted, how you want it to be posted, or you may even train them. You may say, here, listen, look at what I post for a week. I want you to post just like this. These are hashtags you can use. This is the caption for this type of picture. Here's the caption for this type of video. You can even create a schedule with. So when I create social media schedules for my clients, I just pretty much write the whole thing. I make it so even my 9-year-old, sorry, my 8-year-old, my 8-year-old could do it. Like I make it so there's a picture, there's a caption, here's the hashtag, here's the time. Don't mess this up. Like it's so simple that anybody can do. Now you can do that. That's very labor intensive. But once people study, if you have the right person doing it, once they study your patterns, then you won't have any issue because they'll basically just be duplicating what you want done. So there's the flip side to that. So recently, again, I won't name any names. There was an organization that had a particular person running their social media, and then that person left, and somebody else took it over, and they wanted to send something out, and they didn't actually read it. They just copied exactly how it was and sent it out that way. And when we got it, we noticed yo, did you do this? No. Well, no, and that person was like, no, this is exactly what I wrote. They didn't even change it. They just copied exactly what I wrote and sent the same thing out. So you just have to make sure that the person that's doing it is competent and that they treat it like it's their own social media, but they don't treat it like it's their own social media, if you know what I mean. You have to treat it like it's yours. You don't want somebody who just want to throw anything up oh, that's not mine. But you also want to make sure that person knows that if you make a mistake, if you spell something wrong, that a sentence. That they don't just post it as is because that's what it is. They don't just copy and paste. Like most graphic designers that I work with, if I send them something, they literally just copy and paste exactly what I wrote and put it on there. And when I look at the flyer or look at the design, I'm like, why would you separate this like this? You copy my directions and everything. So it's just like, you just gotta, still monitor it and make sure it's on brand. But you have to just train a person and walk through.
Well, I just wanted to say, definitely make sure you look, make sure you check it, because I always post friend stuff. I'm not a performer. I might be posting this like, I'm performing tonight, and I gotta make sure you check it. I'll be able to go back like, oh wait, I didn't even read it. Yeah, and sometimes speaking of repost, sometimes I might repost somebody's stuff. I have to edit it before I post it because I don't want it to be on my page misspelled or crazy. So I repost. I'm like, wait, okay, let's change this and to an N. Let's put a comma here. Let's put some apostrophes in here. They're our friends.
I was just gonna say, wait. I mean, in the end, I always tell my social media people, like I've had a couple interns. I have them use Hootsuite, and then I just scan it.
Yeah.
Because there's an age gap between my interns and my donors, and I give them a lot of freedom, but I feel that you have to run through it, and it's if you schedule, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. I mean, there's plenty of scheduling apps, scheduling programs you can work. Hootsuite is really good.
That's what I use.
Yeah, Hootsuite is really good. I wish you would pay me for this, but I mean, that would be my suggestion is if you don't use anything yet, use Hootsuite. Just make sure that Hootsuite has limited capabilities, just like everything does. It has limitations, so just make sure you don't invest everything into Hootsuite because it may not do what you want it to do sometimes.
So I have a question. So for Hootsuite, I've never used it, but do you find that, or has any research been done that shows how effective? Because I often feel that, like when I sign up for like marketing or whatever, but if I'm bombarded so much with information, I just like tune them out, right? And so has there been any marketing or research done that tells you like, what's the ideal number to post? How much engagement do you want to use? Do you know what I mean? I don't know if this is making sense.
So, your question makes a lot of sense, and I get this question all the time. There has been a lot of research done. All of it is wrong. And the reason why is because it's unique to every different account and every person's situation. You can read every blog, every article that you want, but it's not always going to be 100% for your business. Your business or not profit or your even personal page, it may be different. Your audience may want to read more about you. It just depends on what it is that you're doing. So I had a client who was a relationship expert, and people wanted more content from her, more all the time. She wasn't posting enough. And then I had another client who was in another industry. I'm trying to make this like as vague as possible. But I had another client who was in another industry that was posting too much, and people were just like I'll never forget. It's not funny, but I had a client who was over posting so much that somebody wrote in her comment unsubscribe. But it was like Facebook, like you can't like it was kind of like a comment like unsubscribe, like this is spam, like it was too much. They discovered Hootsuite, and it was like they just discovered the wheel. They were making fire. It was all kinds of stuff. Like it was just too much. So you have to based on your audience, you can do an A/B split test and try different times a day. Like when I first started, I'll have like projects. So once that three minutes page started to like pop, started to get more followers, then I said, okay, I think it had like it got to like 100 followers. And I'm like, man, I wonder how fast I can get this to 1,000 followers. So I just kept posting pictures, and it wasn't either I post pictures and put some hashtags, just let it go. And within like maybe 90 days, it had 1,000 followers. And then I just like, okay, let it go. Then I stopped, and that's why I ended up 2 years, it's only at 2,000 now. And if I had kept going, it'd probably be at 1 million followers by now. And somebody sent me the Barbie Instagram. So Barbie Instagram, a Barbie Instagram has like 3 million followers, and they were like, "Yo, this could be that." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't have that kind of time. Like, I don't have time to build sets and all that." But so it really depends on like your audience. Whereas this audience is focused on whatever it was. If you're willing to invest the time to make them want more, to give them just enough to make them want more, then you can post as much as you want. But I would say just starting out, I would start like 3 to 5 times a week and just see what happens across different networks. See where the most engagement is. People, one other thing, I hope you'll still tuned in. Your time zone doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter where, if you're on the East Coast, none of that matters. You may have most of your following may be somewhere that right now is 3 a.m. where they are. And at 3 a.m. here, it's the middle of the day there, and this is when they want your content. So you posting stuff at 3 a.m. and people here are like, "Oh, why are you doing that?" And you're posting it for another audience. Like, go to where they are. Don't focus on that. One of my I had a podcast. But before podcasts were like a big thing, I had a podcast in 2000 and a long time ago. And